That red clay road is calling my name. Same faded paint on the general store, but the creosote smell ain't the same as before. Just rust on the sign where the welcome used to be, and the pine shadow hides the person I was. This home remembers the man I once was, but it sure don't recognize me.
Welcome to DJ's Southern Storytelling.
Phone rang as the Atlantic Ocean was swallowing his boat. And on the other end of the line was 22-year-old Tyler Doyle, his voice shaking as the freezing January wind howled around him. The motor was failing. Water was coming over the sides. Darkness was creeping across the South Carolina coast. And somewhere beyond the Little River jetties, a young duck hunter was fighting for his life against waves that had already sent more experienced men running for shore. And then just like that, the calls stopped. Rescue crews found Tyler's boat nearly submerged. They found some of his belongings days later, but Tyler Doyle himself seemed to vanish into thin air, and more than 3 years later, his family is still waiting for answers. And one of the most haunting mysteries in the Carolinas remains unsolved. And tonight, we're heading out onto those cold, dangerous waters to examine the disappearance of Tyler Doyle, a case where the ocean may be the only witness left. Y'all go ahead and grab a chair, get some sweet tea, and settle in. And I must tell you before we get into the story, it is storming outside really bad. So you may hear a big loud crack of thunder, but have no fear. We're going to tell the story anyways. Because this ain't just another missing person story. This is the story of a young South Carolina duck hunter who headed out on the water one cold January evening. And he never came home. And more than 3 years later, folks are still asking the same question. What really happened to Tyler Doyle? Back in January the 26th of 2023, along the South Carolina coast near the little fishing community of Little River, winter had more than settled in. The sky was gray, the wind was mean, and the Atlantic Ocean was showing everybody exactly who was boss. Small craft advisories had already been issued that afternoon. The seas were rough, temperatures were dropping, and most experienced boaters would have taken one look at those waves and said, "Hell no, not today." But for 22-year-old Tyler Doyle, hey, it was duck season. And duck hunters, they're a stubborn breed. But Tyler and a friend launched a small 16-foot John boat near the Little River jetties. Those massive rock barriers stretching out towards the Atlantic Ocean near the South Carolina-North Carolina line. Now, the plan seemed simple. Get out there, set up some decoys, find some ducks, come home. Hey, but the ocean obviously had other plans. Now, at some point during the hunt, Tyler dropped his friend off on the North Jetty. The friend remained standing on the rocks while Tyler continued out alone in the John boat to place decoys and scout birds. Now, they stayed in contact by phone, and for a while, everything seemed normal. Then the calls started. Tyler reported mechanical problems. The motor wouldn't stay running, and the boat was taking on water. There's nothing worse than being in a boat in heavy water, heavy wind, heavy waves, without power. You are completely at the mercy of the water. And y'all, the situation was getting bad really fast. Y'all imagine that scene, okay? The sun is starting to fade. The gray sky of winter. 39-degree air temperatures. 50-degree water. Waves hammering a little aluminum boat, the motor coughing and dying. And the old Atlantic Ocean pulling you farther away every second. And y'all, you know that's enough to make a grown man panic. Now, Tyler's friend, he tried to get help. Another boat was flagged down and attempted to reach Tyler. But the conditions were so ugly and rough, they had to turn back. And soon, multiple emergency calls started pouring into dispatch. Friends, family, the hunting partner. Everybody trying desperately to get help before it was too late. And according to investigators, Tyler himself was calling family and friends during the emergency. People later said he sounded very panicked, scared to death, knowing his boat was sinking beneath him. Rescue crews launched immediately. Coast Guard even responded. Local fire rescue units responded. Natural resource officers responded. Everybody who could get on the water went looking. And then they found the boat, almost completely underwater. Now the bow was sticking up, the motor was hanging down, barely visible above the waves. But Tyler was gone. There was no sign of him and no sign of a struggle. No sign at all of where he might have gone. Just an empty ocean. And for days, the search continued. Helicopters, boats, search teams, volunteers. The Coast Guard covered hundreds of square miles of water looking for any trace of the missing hunter. His family, they refused to give up hope. His wife pleaded publicly for prayers. Friends organized searches. Communities along the Carolina coast rallied behind the effort. Everybody wanted the same thing. Just bring Tyler home. Then came a heartbreaking discovery. Hey y'all, if you liked the video, you liked the story, consider hitting the like, share, and subscribe. It's really appreciated. Now, several days later, some of Tyler's belongings washed ashore along the North Carolina coast. His wallet, his waders, items that appeared connected to him. But still no Tyler, not a trace. Not a body, nothing, just more questions. And you see, that's where things started getting complicated. Because whenever somebody disappears without being found, y'all know theories begin to grow. And brother, they grew fast in this case. Social media exploded. Facebook's groups appeared. Internet detectives came crawling out of every corner of the country. Some claim Tyler staged his own disappearance. Well, I'll give you my opinion on that. If I'm going to stage a disappearance, it ain't going to be in January, it's not going to be in the water, and it's not going to be, especially, off the Carolina coast in winter with that kind of wind. There are huge boats that will not even attempt to get to the Outer Banks. Now, others suspected foul play. Others questioned timelines. Some even suggested elaborate conspiracies involving family members and friends. The rumors got so wild that separating fact from fiction became almost impossible. But investigators remained consistent. The South Carolina Department of Natural Resources repeatedly stated that evidence pointed toward a boating accident. The phone records, the location data, witness statements, and the condition of the boat. Everything they examined pointed toward a tragic accident in dangerous water conditions. Officials specifically stated they found no evidence of foul play, but that did not stop speculation, not even close. Now, as months turned into years, the mystery only deepened. How could a man simply vanish? How could such a large search find so little? And why was there never a body recovered? Those questions continued haunting everyone connected to the case. And then, in late 2023, the investigation received additional attention when the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, known as SLED, began assisting with parts of the case. The original investigation remained under Natural Resources. Now, for many people, hey, that reignited hope. Maybe new eyes would find something old eyes missed. Maybe there would finally be some answers. Then in 2026, new discussions surfaced involving alleged sonar images and possible underwater targets identified during searches. Reports claim search teams may have located items of interest years earlier. Some of those allegations remain disputed and unverified, and authorities have not publicly confirmed many of the claims being discussed online. So now, even today, the case continues generating debate, not because investigators have declared foul play, not because evidence points towards murder, but because the biggest piece of evidence is still missing, and that's Tyler himself. And that's the part that makes this story so haunting. Hey, the Atlantic Ocean is beautiful. Folks vacation there every year. Children play in it. Fishermen make a living from it. But anybody who spent time around coastal waters knows something else. Y'all listen to me. The ocean doesn't care. It don't care how young you are, and it damn sure doesn't care how experienced you are. And it sure don't care about your plans for tomorrow. One mistake, one mechanical failure, one rough set of waves, and everything can change in seconds. Not minutes, seconds. No time to react. That's why if you're a boater, you must have your plan already made in your mind in case tragedy does strike that quick. Now today, more than 3 years after he vanished near those jetties, Tyler Doyle has never been found. Of course, his family's still searching for answers, still hoping for some kind of closure, and still living with the uncertainty that comes from never truly knowing what happened to someone you love. Maybe one day the water will finally give up its secrets. Maybe a new search will uncover something missed. And maybe the mystery of Tyler Doyle will be solved. But until that day, the story of Tyler Doyle remains one of the most talked about unsolved disappearances along the Carolina coast. A young hunter, a sinking boat, a cold January evening, and a stretch of ocean that just never gave him back.